Hi everybody. As Leslie said, my name is Tyler Clouse. I work for the Lincoln Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm one of several conservation partners that work here in the county. As it says, Partners in Conservation. That's our slogan on our building. I just want to introduce a couple other people. Evan Haydock, Mid-Coast Watersheds Council. We partner with them quite a bit. We share technicians and kind of just parse work between us. We call ourselves the three-headed giant with NRCS. Annie Marion, who's not here today. She's the district conservationist and helps with a lot of agricultural and some private forestry work as well. I also would like to mention, you'll hear from Margaret soon, but the giant has gained another head with land acquisition and easements, so Margaret will talk about that in the next presentation. So I'm going to go over briefly what is an SWCD, so you all know. Important thing, districts are all around the country. We primarily work from an agricultural basis, but we're grant funded, so we serve the community how we can, where it makes sense. I'm not going to talk broadly about conservation and drinking water. I'm going to talk specifically about our district programs and what we can offer you. Not an exhaustive list. Again, speak with Midcoast, speak with Margaret, all of our other partners on conservation opportunities. So, what is an maybe? Brenda, can you change this slide?
Oh, I can.
Thank you. All right, an SWCD. So our mission is there to improve and conserve the quality of soil, water, and other natural resources related to agriculture, forested, private, urban, and rural lands in Lincoln County. Let's see, there we go. Brief history of SWCDs, just again to frame kind of who we are and what we do. Briefly, back in 1935, I always say that we're a legacy of the Dust Bowl era. So obviously, many of us know what happened there. We lost our soil. Agriculture had to make some really significant changes in how we were producing. FDR promoted legislation to allow the formation of soil conservation districts. Water was added quite a ways later, unfortunately. But we're there now. In 1963 and then in 1993, Oregon passed the Ag Water Quality Management Act. So that gave us the authority to basically enact our Agricultural Water Quality Management Area Plan, which is under review tonight at a different meeting. So some of you will be attending. If you are, sorry, you're gonna hear the exact same presentation again later tonight. But nice picture there. This is actually up in Schooner Creek, so you can see some erosion happening there. This was a couple years ago, and we try to work on projects like that to help where we can. Today, there's 45 active districts in Oregon. Generally, we are county-based. Some counties have multiple districts just because of geography and how things work. Our district works from Cascade Head and then south into Lane County a little bit, primarily on butterfly work that's happening in the south there. Base funding for us is from the Department of Agriculture, so again, that kind of frames our work of what we do. We receive funding on a biennial basis to assist landowners, private landowners, with agricultural water quality concerns. So we provide technical assistance, outreach programs, riparian planting, infrastructure as needed on ag properties. And this is a big one, local priorities take precedent. You'll see as I go through our three programs, they are ag related, but not all of our work is on ag lands. Again, each district will be different. The east side has very different programming than we do. They often are working with irrigation districts and on different water issues from groundwater to source water. And the last one I want to mention, districts are working only on voluntary conservation. We do not work on regulatory anything. We stay our hands out of any regulatory problems and direct those to the state and other partners that handle that. So I'll get into our first program here, our noxious weed management program, which is a collaboration with the Siuslaw National Forest primarily and private landowners like some of you, as well as our public agency partners like the Oregon Parks and Rec Department, County Parks, and then we are potentially working with state forests as well. A couple of pictures here, those are our technicians pulling out a policeman's helmet, which is a beautiful plant. If you're familiar with the East Coast at all, it's called jewelweed. It's an orange flower, it's really, really pretty. But oftentimes pulling that. To start, our public lands work that we do is with the Siuslaw National Forest through Good Neighbor Agreement. So we go in and assist the forest with their thinning projects primarily. So they go in, they do thinning. Primarily what we work on is elk meadow restoration. So they go in, thin some of those, and try and create some prairies for those elk. And we go in to make sure that as this heavy equipment comes in and is depositing seeds and often isn't cleaned, that we're going in and taking care of any of the noxious weeds that pop up that were there or have been brought in. As I said, we work with Oregon Parks and Rec Department on yellow flag iris treatment. We also work with Cascade Pacific in the ALSI and participation with the Cooperative Weed Management Area. That's a group that comes together, just kind of started getting back together. As I said, I've been with the district about 2 years, so this is the first year I've seen it come together, of organizations that are doing noxious weed work, and we talk about, what are the priority species for our county, how are things being treated, and just a collaborative of us technical assistance providers. I did include this brochure here. It's over here on the table. I brought about 6 different types of brochures. The Worried About Weeds one is specifically for private landowners. So these are our 6 species that we're treating for private lands, for private residential, forestry, and agricultural lands. They've been designated through the state. We don't treat just every single weed that's out there. Things like Himalayan blackberry, it would be nice, but you just can't go around taking care of that everywhere. Certain things like knotweed, policeman's helmet, yellow flag iris are big priorities for us in the riparian space. The district is focusing our efforts primarily on riparian restoration and riparian weed management, trying not to get too much into the uplands, although, as I said, we do work with forestry partners on some of that as well. So the other aspect of this noxious weeds work is our outreach and engagement. We've had a couple of pest management and water quality workshops that have been conducted in the Upper Uquina. We're going to be redoing that series up in North County, up in Lincoln City here in the spring, late March and early April. It's a 2-part series. Casey Buell with OSU Extension, she's an awesome person, very knowledgeable about pesticides and pest management of all types, whether that's manual, mechanical, chemical. Casey will walk us through kind of how these different management strategies affect water quality. And then we will take participants and volunteers that would like to show us what they're managing on their property, what they're using, what pests they're trying to treat, whether that is aphids or blackberry or knotweed or whatever the different things are. In the second workshop, we come back together with maps, soil composition maps, and we discuss what products or management strategies they're using, and again, how they affect our water quality. Highly, highly recommend that. Casey's just a lot of fun as well, and we provide food because that's the best way to get people there. Oregon Parks and Rec Department noxious weed control surveys. We will be conducting those in Beaver Creek to just look at where yellow flag iris is down lower in the mouth. So we kayak those. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, they're still in the planning phase. But yeah, we will be sending that out. Follow us on our social media. We try to post all of our events on there, on our website, everywhere. You can find us. You can also just call us. All I'm going to talk about for our noxious weeds program for now. Next slide. Thanks. So our next program is our water quality monitoring program, which has morphed over the years. We've been around for almost 70 years now, and as any organization that has been around that long, there's a lot of changes. For a while, the district was primarily working on looking at stream reach surveys and salmon. And more recently, we are working more on just water quality itself, taking grab samples, filling our Nalgene bottles, and sending them off to the lab. These are a couple pictures of some areas that we're currently sampling in the upper Yaquina, and we're supporting DEQ as they are gathering information on the TMDL, which is the total maximum daily load. Just some criteria for how much of each specific contaminant is allowed within a watershed. If I'm wrong, please chime in, DEQ. But these are two different areas. This is the confluence of the Little Yaquina and the main stem Yaquina, and this is actually right in Eddyville. So we've got quite a few monitoring stations. Next slide. All right. I thought this is a fun picture. It's interesting. Our three areas that we're primarily focused on monitoring right now are the Yachats. We have 3 different locations where we're monitoring temperature. It's our longest running project that I know of. It is continuous temperature monitoring. We go in, we have loggers, little sampling devices that we place in stream in May, and then we go back and check them. They take temperature monitoring points every 15 minutes. And then we collect those, and at the end of the season in October, if the rain doesn't come too soon, we pull them out earlier if we need to. We get all that data collected and we send it off to DEQ. We also use that data for helping us better understand temperature thresholds for salmon. So there's that temperature limit where they start to see a decrease in their survival and start to struggle. So it's important for us to see how many days is this happening in our watershed, and at which locations is it most prevalent. The Siletz focus area, as I've talked about, we're primarily funded by the Department of Agriculture, and one of our programs through that is our focus area. So since the Siletz is kind of our largest agricultural zone in the county, that has been our focus area for several years now. We just started doing some testing there. We're going to be doing that continuous monitoring that I talked about for temperature at 4 locations from May to October, and then we also will be returning once a month to do grab samples of other data that we're looking for. Total nitrogen, phosphorus, suspended solids, turbidity, dissolved oxygen, and bacteria. That's what this guy is, for reference. We partner with Surfrider and the Oregon Coast Aquarium, and we basically take these Nalgenes of water and we pour them into this little cell. We seal them up and we put them in an easy bake oven, also known as an incubator, and then they come back and they tell us what is reacting. We take these and then we put them under a black light, we count the number of cells, and that tells us about what our colony forming units are. It's a good, fun thing that we get to do, and we also get a free pass to the aquarium that we get to go use every 2 weeks, so it's a lot of fun. The district is also looking at expanding our Siletz sampling right now. We think it's really important as the private forest accord is going into effect, which for those that are aware, the private forest accord is changing how forestry is being managed on private industrial timberlands. So it's increasing our riparian buffers, which we hope is going to affect the creeks and rivers and all that in a beneficial way, but it's good for us to get actual data to back that up. So that's where the Siletz is coming in. By far the biggest monitoring project we have is the Upper Yaquina. Again, Department of Agriculture, DEQ has helped us a lot, David, finding previous test locations and monitoring stations. We're currently under a 4-year plan with 2 years of funding. 2 years of funding, right? Welcome to grant-funded organizations. We hope to get 2 more years. But we are monitoring 6 different stations from Chitwood all the way up here to that fork of the Little Yaquina and the main stem Yaquina. This one is much more intense. We're doing this year-round sampling, twice a month. We're driving up there. During the last big ice storm, we also need storm sampling. So we need to know once big rains come and wash out all the fields and we see all these contaminants flowing in, what's happening. So on those ice storm days, we went out in the field and stuck our Nalgenes in the water and got what we needed to, and then went back to the aquarium. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see what this what these results are gonna show us over the next few years, we decided not to go with an efficacy monitoring plan. What we're doing here, this is in support of, I don't know if you can see this little tiny line, it looks like the river line, but it's not. It's the strategic implementation area. So the Department of Agriculture and us have said, this is an area we want to focus on. They go in and they do their regulatory side and tell us, here's where the problems are that we think that could have violations. Good for us, there were no violations in our SIA. But there's always opportunities for uplift. So they mark those and then we go out and hold workshops and some mailers and just contact people who want to voluntarily participate in conservation. That's been happening for about a year now. We have submitted one grant for 3 different properties. We'll continue to be supporting those agricultural landowners in the next 3 years or so.
What kind of projects?
Primarily riparian restoration, yep. Although we do have funding as well for infrastructure projects. So manure storage is one that we're gonna be working on. And then we also are doing a pollinator meadow. Next slide. Which brings me to our restoration program, the third and final. A couple pictures here, just kind of what different restoration projects look like. This is actually from a week ago. Our technicians are out planting trees up in the Salmon River on the hatchery property there with ODFW and also ODOT. So we've got some livestock exclusion fencing that is gonna be installed there to keep some mules and donkeys out of the creek and stop the erosion. And then we're going back and doing planting of trees and removal of noxious weeds. Next slide. I try to include people in all my pictures, although the landscape's pretty and all. Riparian restoration for the district serves all of our major basins. It's interesting looking at the history of the district because, again, of grant funding, it seems like we go into a basin like the Siletz and then we're gone for 5 years and then we come back later and there's all these new people. So it's always a moving target on where we're most active. Right now, I would say most of our activity is actually in North County, and we're helping fill the role of the Salmon Drift Creek Watershed Council, who has been absorbed by Mid-Coast Watersheds Council, and we're just helping kind of with that transition, providing outreach and education, and then also riparian restoration services. Again, focused on current and former agricultural properties to enhance water quality and habitat. It is all grant funded and dependent on funders. For this one, it's important to note on our riparian restoration projects, if you're interested, contact us. There are certain boundaries and buffers we like to see. So if it's less than a 30-foot buffer on either side of the stream, it is very hard for us to get funding on that. While we would love to see every single, even if it's 10 feet of the river planted and fenced off, that's not usually a project that we can go for, get funding, and get implemented. Just because of how the rules are. But we do try as hard as we can to work with all the folks here. This is out on some ODFW property, and this is on a farm that we're working on in the Siletz out at Euchre Creek. Next slide. Okay. Technical assistance and outreach, as I said, we are doing a bunch of workshops and outreach in North County just to fill the void of one of our long-term partners there. I've got this over there, so don't worry too much about all the details. This is our Ag Water Quality Workshop Series. So we've got 4 different workshops coming up this spring. 5 actually, if you include the Rainwater Catchment Workshop is going to have a tour. We just did this in the Siletz with the tribe, and they were a great host for us. We're gonna be working with a dahlia farmer up in North County, which is a great place to be in March to see all these little flowers popping up. But we'll be talking first about rainwater catchment design, and we're gonna have somebody who's facilitating that up at Lincoln City, Oregon Coast Community College there. The day after will be that tour, and then our other workshops are the pest management ones I've talked about, and a riparian vegetation and pasture borders. These are, all the rainwater and the riparian veg are in collaboration with Mid-Coast, who is assisting us with those. The riparian vegetation one will be taking place on the Siletz Bay National Wildlife Refuge. They've got a project that Midcoast is working on, doing some restoration that we're really excited to go see. And you can come on out, eat some food, plant some snowberry, learn a little bit about pasture-friendly plantings, and yeah, just learn more about the conservation process and riparian planting. Next slide. This is an area planning and assessment that the district is active in primarily as a partnership with all of you individuals and with our drinking water providers. Currently, we're participating in the Toledo, Yachats, Lincoln City, and soon the Newport drinking water protection plans with GSI, and many, many other partners. We serve there mostly as a technical assistance provider on agricultural properties and potential contaminants, and also as a resource for how people can improve their properties and practices. We are part of the Midcoast Planning Partnership as well, again, kind of a larger framework for organizations as we discuss water management issues and solutions and priorities. And the last one, Retna was talking about source water assessments. The district has been working for the last 1.5 to 2 years on a source water assessment for the Silettes. So you can see here the Silettes source water area stops at the intakes. So there's a lot more of the Silettes that continues on, but we're doing an assessment with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. I hate acronyms. Natural Resource Conservation Service, National Water Quality Initiative Source Water Assessment. They have to make it easy on us. The long and short of it is we take these GIS layers, we look at it and we say, okay, where are erosion concerns? Where are known pollutants? Where are potential pollutants? And then we create this outreach plan, and that hopefully will get funded by NRCS for us to continue doing workshops and outreach to folks as well. We're working with OSU Extension on this to also bring in the needs assessment for farmers around the county so that our projects align with what's actually needed, and we're not just saying, here's what you gotta do. And that's been a great collaboration. If you have not worked with Evie Smith at OSU, I highly recommend it. She's a fantastic resource for the community. Next. All right, so I've talked about our 3 programs. There's a half program that we don't mention much at the district. It's our pollinator meadow restoration program, which has really expanded in the last year or so. As I said, this is primarily for Yachats South, although our current funding is also for the Newport area. We're supporting the Oregon silver spot butterfly, which is a threatened species, state endangered. It primarily is just found in salt spray meadows and Summit headlands. So the district has inherited this program through the Nature Conservancy to do meadow restoration on private landowner properties. Currently, we have about 3 acres that we're managing for that, and many, many more property owners that can join in. Our other programs are primarily for rural residents. Noxious weeds is one that we will provide technical assistance for urban folks, but generally we're trying to treat up higher in our waterways. Treating an island down at the bottom is not the most advantageous. It's better for us to go upstream and treat there and work our way down. This program, however, in Newport and Yachats is primarily for urban folks. So if you own a house between, I'm gonna get these wrong, within 4 miles of Yachats, about half a mile from the ocean, and then from South Beach, not South Beach, the South Jetty in Newport, all the way north, about halfway to Otter Rock, and you're within half a mile of the ocean, we can come and actually plant pollinator species and transition your yards and gardens into meadow landscapes, which is a fun program. It does require you to sign a 10-year agreement with the federal government, but you can back out whenever you want to. Lovely. Part of that is when we work with endangered species, there's always this potential, right, of us harming the species. So we as the district hold a permit that then allows for what's called incidental take. So you've, grown your meadow out, it's beautiful, you go and you mow over a bunch of butterflies. Not ideal. Normally without these permits, you would be in big trouble. But they allow us to say, okay, you're trying your best, you did the right thing, you followed our recommendations, things went sideways, but you're protected. So that's the reason that permit and that 10-year agreement is there. Again, less so for drinking water, so we're gonna move on past this. I don't have too much more to cover. I did just want to include our upcoming events. Our native plant sale is happening in a week and a half on the 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have sold probably 1,000 of our plants, and we've got another 1,000 more that we are going to have at the sale. So stop on by. Pre-orders are over, but it's going to be at our office, which is at the Windermere building in Newport. Again, info's over there. I've got posters for the native plant sale and these workshop series. The other one that is not on there that I really think is pertinent to drinking water is our water rights and conservation workshop, which is going to be happening here with the Wild Salmon Center. They're going to be talking about what are Oregon water rights laws, like what is the history, how did we get to where we're at, and then for those of you with water rights on your property, how you can use them for conservation, whether that means easements, leasing it, selling your water right. There are many, many options. I don't know most of them, but they do. That's why we're having this. So that's all I've got for now. Are there any questions?